That's where we pick the worst movies from popular franchises and directors and try and figure out what went wrong. I'm Drew.
Not Tyler.
Tyler, what's our movie tonight?
In the DC extended universe, or what the DC
It's just the DC
Cinematic
universe
universe?
right now.
Batman versus Superman.
Okay, so I wanted to start off by saying
Dawn of Justice.
Dawn of Justice.
Can't forget that part.
So I wanted to start out by saying that even though Suicide Squad right now it's Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman out right now. Justice League's coming out later. Suicide Squad is technically worse on the tomato meter, but I think Batman v Superman, we got more to talk about with this one, I think.
And I don't think any of us were willing to watch Suicide Squad. I haven't seen it yet. Have you?
Have you seen it since the theaters, or have you not seen
I've
it?
never seen Suicide Squad, and I have no interest in seeing it based on what I've heard.
It's bad. There's some things in there that I think watch it just to see what you think about it, but that's about it. Okay, so we're gonna dive into the history with not just the DC franchise. This iteration, the Zack Snyder DC universe, is pretty young with Batman v Superman. So we're gonna go back to Batman and Superman. Just let's go through the history of our history with the characters through the movies in the past. Okay, so start with Batman. What's your favorite stuff about Batman? Where did you start with this?
Honestly, I was never big into Batman, Superman, anything DC as a kid, so I don't have a huge backstory. Even with most superheroes, like the only superhero shows I watched as a kid were X-Men Evolution and Static Shock. Were about the only ones I watched as a kid. Now, as a later teenager and an adult, I've watched more superhero stuff, and the Nolan Batman movies are well regarded now, and I enjoyed all three of those.
Right.
So those really be my only exposure to Batman. And I've always hated Superman. I always thought he had way too many powers.
Yeah,
Never found him interesting.
I'd say my only exposure to Superman, on a constant basis, is when Jerry Seinfeld would refer to him in the TV show. I'm like you. I've never been a big Superman guy. He's always just kind of bored me. I get a lot of people love him. He's an iconic character, but at the same time, he's just there's nothing interesting about him. Batman, on the other hand, I've loved him ever since I was a little kid because I think I'm trying to remember how old I was when Batman and Robin came out in theaters. I think that was one of the first movies I ever went to, which is probably not the best thing to say, but I remember growing up with Batman the animated series and all this other stuff, and then the movie started coming out, and I love the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight series isn't on that.
My opinions will probably line up with most people's, with The Dark Knight being the best of the three, with Batman Begins being the second best, and with The Dark Knight Returns. Is that it?
The Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark Knight Rises being the third best. Bane was awesome in that movie, but I felt that a lot of the other parts of the movie were a little weak.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's Dark Knight's obviously number one because you got Heath Ledger as the Joker, and everyone just talks about how great he is. I think he's great too. I think Mark Hamill in the animated series, I think he's probably my favorite version of the Joker. But I think it's Dark Knight Rises, and then it's Batman Begins in that order. And with Superman, I never really watched any of the movies or anything growing up. I know I watched a little bit of the cartoon. It came out around the same time that the Batman cartoon came out. It was either late 90s or early 2000s. But until the Zack Snyder movie Man of Steel came out, that led in to this Batman v Superman. And I remember I liked it okay. It's the same problem with Superman. I just think he's an uninteresting character. That might spoil a little bit of my review for this movie too. But yeah, that's my overall so going in, I love Batman. I think that was the thing I was the most excited for going into this movie. To do that, I want to ask you about just since we're doing directors now, I want to ask you, what are your personal feelings on Zack Snyder? Just as a director, do you have any like strong feelings for him? Because a lot of people really don't like him,
He can shoot some cool action scenes.
right?
If he should be in charge of the whole movie, I don't think so.
Yeah, I want to. While we're talking about, I want to go through some of his like film roster, so stuff in there. But I don't think he really became Zack Snyder until he hit 300. What do you think about 300?
300's cool visually, and I will always watch it when it's on TNT, and I have a free hour or so.
Yeah, I think that's a big guilty pleasure of mine. Okay, so after we get off of 300, we go to Watchmen. I love Watchmen. I know that's not a popular thing to say, and I've read the graphic novel too, but I love this movie a lot. I think it's really really good. What are your opinions on it?
I haven't ever read the graphic novel, so I kind of like the movie. I've only seen it like twice, but I still remember enjoying it.
Yeah. Okay, so we got off of Watchmen. Have you seen Guardians of Gahul, the owl movie?
No,
I haven't either. So let's move on to Sucker Punch.
I have not seen Sucker Punch.
I think I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's not good. I've heard like a bunch of other podcasts talking about it, and everything I've heard is just it's just a miserable movie. And then we move on to Man of Steel, which we just kind of talked about a little bit. I think it looks really cool. I think it's probably, if you're gonna get me into a movie theater to watch a Superman movie, that was the best chance you had.
Just seen it piecemeal,
Mm,
and it's never really struck me as anything
yeah,
incredibly interesting. Now that could be my fault for not watching it all at once, but it's just so that movie just seems so dark and depressing.
yeah. Well, I guess that leads us to our next one. I said I like Zack Snyder, but I only liked like two or three out of this list I just talked about. Okay, but that leads us into
Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice.
all right.
Subtitle.
Okay, so Batman v Superman. What would you say are the highlights of this movie?
When Batman fought Superman.
Okay, what do you think? Like the whole movie builds up to this fight. How do you think the actual? I don't think they fight but like 15 minutes. How do you think that fight goes? Do you think it looks cool or do you think it looks kind of stupid?
I think the whole fight between Batman and Superman was, like I said, the best part of the movie. It was good visuals, good back and forth. Classic Batman planning had.
Yeah, I like that he goes into the fight and he's got like a bunch of traps set up for him, and I like that it's way more brutal than you think it's gonna be because I don't know. I think the one thing I like about the DC universe is they're going against Marvel, so their big thing is like we have to go the complete opposite. Marvel's really light and fun. We're gonna be just dark and gloomy.
Muted colors.
Yeah, so I respect him for that decision, but in the end, I think it comes back to bite him a lot of the time, especially with Batman v Superman.
They are more cinematic than Marvel, but nothing else is better, in my opinion.
Yeah, so when they actually get to the fight, we'll talk about like all the stuff surrounding the fight in a second. When they get to the actual fight, it's just the dark and gloominess kind of sucks all of the like excitement out of the fight for me. So when they actually get to the fight, it's just like just beating each other with like pieces of the building and like we're gonna throw each other across the room. So there's really that's it to the fight. It's like punch him in the face a bunch of the times, pick him up, throw him, rinse and repeat.
It was just brutal and face to face, hard hitting. So it was very direct. And it was in an abandoned part of town, which they were sure to point out, I guess, because criticisms of Man of Steel.
Yeah, that was a big thing. I remember like seeing interviews and stuff, and they were like, "This that was a big thing we focused on. We have to keep this thing like contained. We have to make sure that the fight doesn't kill anybody this time." Because Man of Steel, they just completely level an entire like city pretty much.
But I never really got that criticism of that movie. I know I really haven't an expert on that movie or anything, but it seems like Superman really couldn't draw him away from the city. So what else was he supposed to do?
Yeah, I think the big problem with it is not so much in like the Men of Steel movie. I think it's just it came at a time where we're just getting done with like all the Transformer movies, where every single movie they just leveled a city. So I think when we finally got the Men of Steel, it's just people had had enough of it. So this is the movie they point to when they're just like, that's the worst example of people like
Destruction porn.
yeah, killing millions and millions of people like while two guys fight. So in the end, it's like Superman. You killed the bad guy, but in the process, you killed everyone you were trying to save. So I think that was a big problem. I think the problem with Batman v Superman, them fighting in the abandoned place, is just like it was too over the top, pretty much with like how we're gonna avoid this one problem. And it's like you avoid that one problem, like you're not gonna destroy a city, but all the other problems with Man of Steel you just completely disregarded.
But then they go and destroy the city when Doomsday comes.
Exactly. No, I think they're still on that they're still on that abandoned island, right? When Wonder Woman shows up, so they're still technically not killing anybody except for Superman.
Oh
Spoiler
yeah.
alert.
I remember now. They lured him back to the
Right.
place. He started off on the
Yeah,
Metropolis, but he lured him back to
Yeah.
the abandoned place.
and
So,
we'll get to that in the worst things about the movie in a second. But another highlight I want to talk about is I love Ben Affleck in this role. I think he's a really good Batman. I think he's a really good Bruce Wayne.
I think he pulled off both very well. I think he pulled off both very well.
Yeah, because you look at like Kristen Bell as Batman. I really I like his versions of him. I don't like the Batman voice. I think it's kind of corny, but I like that. So I really like comparing him to Kristen Bell. That I don't think he's not very charismatic as Bruce Wayne in like the Dark Knight trilogy. What do you think about that? Do you think comparing them to each other? What do you think?
I think he was probably would have been more charismatic in his youth, but this is more playing a older Batman, which I found pretty interesting because the other movies have been a younger Batman.
Yeah,
That besides 5 minutes and Dark Knight Rises, it wasn't really touched upon
Yeah,
Batman's age.
yeah, he's more grizzled than this, which I really do like. And another thing I wanted to talk about is the only good the parts I really liked that like when Superman was by himself was I really like the montages. I think that's one of Zack Snyder's biggest strengths when it comes to his movies. Like you take Watchmen for example. I think the opening scene of that movie, like they're going through the credits and stuff, and they're also going through like the alternate world history. I think that's one of the best parts of that movie. So, and I think that like his montages are usually the best parts of his movie because in this one when it's showing like Superman saving everybody, it's just like clip after clip. He's going and he's like, was it like the rocket blows up and he like saves the cockpit of it, the flood, and he's just like saving people from like the roofs of their houses and stuff. I like that. I like that stuff where you're just like showing a bunch of like brief little images to show Superman's actually kind of a hero, even if he's not like a likable hero.
Because if those parts weren't in the movie, I would have no clue who to root for in that coming fight.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just so Henry Cavill's the new Superman. I don't know if he's just not a very good actor. I haven't really seen him in anything else to compare him to anything. So him playing Superman, he's just such an unlikable guy. It's weird to go into the movie and be like, well, who do I root for? I don't really like either of these people, even if like Ben Affleck is really good as Batman. The actual character is like crazy in this movie because he's like branding the villains and stuff. So what do you think of those changes to these characters? Like they're getting more gritty. But what do you think about like just their likability? Like you're trying to root for somebody here.
They were both dicks, and
Yeah,
there was I really couldn't decide which one I would root for because they were both hypocrites and they were both dicks.
yeah. So
Now, another good thing about the movie was the trailers, because the trailers,
yeah,
as good as they are, really mislead you into thinking that the movie might have actual ideological differences between the two of them. But none of that was even touched upon.
yeah. It's like the people making the trailers are like, okay, well, we're gonna simplify this because you go into the movie thinking like, okay, Batman doesn't like Superman because he destroyed Metropolis and Man of Steel, and basically that was like the you see in the very beginning of the movie that Wayne Enterprises or like the Wayne Tower or something is in the middle of the city. It gets leveled. It kills a bunch of the people that work for him. You think that's going to be the motivation. It turns out that's not the case, which is so weird because you got the rest of the movie. It's like Superman's being framed for blowing up buildings and shooting people in the head at the very beginning. You texted me about this last night. You had a big problem with it.
I had a lot of problems with anything Lex Luthor related in this movie. Just should we just go to things we didn't like and just so I can
Yeah.
talk about everything Lex Luthor that bothered me?
Yeah, let's get to that.
Okay, first off, I was fine with him going a different route with a millennial Lex Luthor with Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
He could have been a good Lex Luthor, but this writing just made no sense, and he played him like a crazy
It's horrible
person.
because I think it's frustrating because remember at the very beginning they're talking about Bryan Cranston coming in for Lex Luthor. That would have been incredible. And then when they dropped that idea and they went to Jesse Eisenberg, it's so confusing because when you first hear Jesse Eisenberg's doing this, you're thinking, okay, I've seen him play a smart person in The Social Network. He's really unlikable, but he's really intelligent. I thought that he could bring that kind of personality over to Batman v Superman. He didn't do that. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what this is that he's trying to do.
Okay, just so I can talk through everything Lex Luthor related.
Okay.
Near the beginning of the movie, he gets to meet with two senators about importing this giant piece of kryptonite in
Right.
so they can weaponize it. And the two senators agree, and he says, well, my demands for helping you develop this anti-Superman, anti-Kryptonian weapon are that I can access Zod's ship and Zod's body, which they grant him. But then later, they don't let him import the kryptonite in anyway, even though they already granted him the stuff he wished for. They're not letting him import it. And somehow he decides just to import it in anyway. So why did he ask for their permission? Why did it matter? And then he gets mad at the person, the one senator that changed her mind to let him import it, and kills her because she didn't let him import it, but he imported it in illegally anyway. So why did it matter?
I haven't even thought of any of that. But yeah, just everything with. I think another good point you're bringing up is the motivations in this movie. Because I think the beginning when you're talking about, like, he wants to get the big thing of kryptonite, and he says to Senator Holly Hunter, yeah. So he says to her, I want to have this because it's mainly like a silver bullet, basically, because he knows that, because they do like an experiment on General Zod, and they like cut him with the little, what is it, like the kryptonite little shard. And they basically say like, this is bad for Superman, so this way we can kind of keep Superman in check. If he ever gets out of line, we can use this.
Better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Right. And then, for some reason, the best, like, motivation for that is, like, kind of the best motivation for this movie, and they drop it about halfway through. I never hear anything after Batman chases after the crate that's hauling this thing. I never hear anything about it until, like, I think Batman ends up stealing it eventually, right?
Right. Batman tries to interrupt the
shipment of it.
the illegal importation of it, and he fails because Superman stops him. But then he steals it off screen anyway. So why did any of it matter?
Yeah, in the I wanted to bring this up. In the Ultimate Edition, it shows some security footage of him breaking in and stealing it. Some of it looks really cool because it just shows him like jumping out from shadows and like snagging people and dragging them back in. And that's one thing I wanted to bring up with the Ultimate Edition. You watched the standard, right?
This movie does not need to be 30 minutes longer, so yeah, so watch the standard.
It's crazy because I bought this movie when it came on Blu-ray. I don't know why. I like this movie, I guess, but besides all the problems I have, I guess I still like it for some reason. But the Ultimate Edition, it's 30 minutes longer. It's also the R-rated edition, which there's a little bit more violence in it. They put CGI blood in the places where I guess they didn't have it before. But it's like the weirder stuff in the movie made the Ultimate Edition, because you know the guy at the very beginning that Batman breaks into like that warehouse where that dude's like got all the women locked up.
Yeah.
He brands him, and you see what happens when Batman brands people and they send him to prison. A gang runs up to him and stabs him to death on screen. And that's it. That's the scene. Like, he goes to prison, they stab him to death. Like, that's the stuff in the Ultimate Edition. And that's one of the biggest problems with this movie. They went so overboard with the dark and gritty that they kind of forget this is like a superhero movie. And I'm glad they cut that stuff out.
Why do the people in prison care that Batman branded bad criminals? You think they're all criminals?
Yeah, you think, why would they have any loyalty to them?
Right. Why does Batman control the opinions of the prisoners? I know they say Batman's branding the worst people, pedophiles, child traffickers, stuff like that. But
yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand the motive. Once again, we're back to I don't understand anybody's motivation in this movie. So by the time you get to the showdown, basically, it doesn't matter because you're too confused trying to figure out why everybody's doing what they're doing.
The only motivation that made sense, because they honestly probably couldn't find a better way to make Superman want to hurt Batman, was to kidnap Superman's mother to force him to fight Batman. That was Superman's motivation. There was no ideological stuff. That was just bland and interesting.
Yeah.
And when he showed up to Batman, it was like, hey, I need to talk to you. Batman started punching him and shooting him. And
yeah, it's just... Okay, so let's get to the thing that ends the fight is him screaming Martha. What do you think about the thing that ends the whole... Pretty much everything the movie led up to?
It was the absolute worst part of the movie.
I don't understand why they thought... David S. Goyer is he's one of the head writers for this movie. And I'm starting to, I really have a bone to pick with this guy, because he got famous because... Let me refer to my notes. He got famous because he happened to be sitting in the room when the Nolan brothers were writing the Dark Knight series. And ever since that, he's been coasting on that one thing. He's since gone on to direct the movie The Invisible, which is almost a straight-to-DVD movie, and he directed that movie The Unborn. We went to get to the theater to see that.
Oh my gosh, those are both terrible movies.
Ever since then, this guy has not been involved in anything worthwhile. He's been... I think I looked on his IMDb, it's he wrote Black Ops 2, the video game, and he's doing the DC Universe stuff. So I think he wrote Man of Steel. I think he had a really large part in writing Batman v Superman. I don't understand why this guy still has a job, because everything this guy touches is horrible, other than the Dark Knight trilogy.
How is it that some people just fall upward in their careers?
It's insane, but I don't know whose idea what this was. I don't know if they grabbed this from the comic or something, but the whole Martha thing, it was so stupid when I saw it in the movie theater. I literally thought I missed something. The reason they just stopped fighting, because I was like, why why is this happening? Why are they not fighting anymore over this one thing?
And to make it worse, it does flashbacks to Bruce Wayne's childhood for the 10th time in this movie, to his parents dying, because we definitely need to see Batman's parents die again on film.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like he keeps cutting back. I get you want to show off in the first thing because the first scene is the Wayne's getting killed. I get it. You want to show off. You want to show Batman's origins, like your version of it. But you keep. I think they refer back to like it's either Wayne's getting shot. They keep going back to that. I don't understand why they think that we have to keep seeing this in order to get this.
So, what were your opinions? I guess it's to change subjects a bit. What were your opinions on all the flashbacks, flash sideways, and
Oh, like
visions?
the
around movie?
dreams he'd have with
The dreams and all the flashbacks that were in the movie. Acts, like
Yeah.
the escorts all everywhere's desert.
My problem with the movie, it looks really cool. It doesn't make any sense though. That's a lot of this movie. Like a lot of this stuff, there's a lot of really cool images in it, but a lot of it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know what they're trying to do with this. I think it's just like I don't know, he's scared about like if Superman takes over the world. I guess that's what they're getting at. Is that what they're getting at? Do you know?
That's what appears to me they were getting at. I haven't read much of the theory and stuff behind this movie,
Yeah.
but
So that with all even the flashbacks, like I like the slow motion stuff. I like the way everything looks, but there's just no point to it almost. Like none of it really makes any sense. So is that all the bad things about the movie you can think of?
this movie committed a pretty bad movie making sin of advancing the story with news clips.
Yeah.
I think it did that about 5 different times.
It's even worse than the Ultimate Edition.
And I just always hated that trick to show time progression or to show story progression. It just seems very lazy and a very lazy way to do cameos.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the next subject.
Oh, wait. What were your opinions on the trailers for the upcoming movies that Wonder Woman watched? We haven't even touched on Wonder Woman yet.
Oh, yeah.
But what were your opinions on the trailers that Wonder Woman watched in the climax of the movie on her laptop was her watching
Well,
previews of upcoming movies?
I don't know. Whoever did the brand logos did a good job. I don't know who he has. I guess Lex Luthor has his own marketing department. But yeah, that's another thing. The other problem with this movie is this: they're trying to build an entire universe in one movie. Where you had Marvel just going through, they built the universe with every new installment just a little bit. But this, you're trying to rush everything, so everything gets so muddled in this. Because you're trying to just do this like in one step, and I think all the little trailers are really stupid. To be honest, every one of them is just the worst. Because I think the Flashes is okay because you see him going into the drugstore. That's fine. The one where it's just like they're diving in the ocean and you see Jason Momoa like come out like kind of like throwing his spear at him a little bit.
It reminds me of the Zoolander scene where he's doing the water commercial, the essence of moisture.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's the same effects as that.
Yeah, and then what is it? The Cyborg. That one's okay. It's just if you don't know anything about that character, you have no idea what's going on. They have Wonder Woman, and it's a picture that pretty much is its own like small trailer for the Wonder Woman movie because you can see Chris Pine and the rest of the guys.
I guess we've already moved on from what we thought was good, but we forgot to mention Wonder Woman. I thought she was a good addition to this movie. I thought she did good, and her theme was probably the best music from the movie as well.
Yeah, I liked Wonder Woman more in her own movie. I think it just goes back to the directing. I think whoever directed Wonder Woman did a way better job directing Gal Gadot around like just how to play a character a certain way and stuff. But I think she's really good when it comes to like the fighting scene. She's really good when it's just her and Bruce Wayne. So I don't know. She's a really good part of the movie. So
Like her smiles and her small facial cues were
Yeah,
pretty spot on.
yeah, they did a really good job casting her. Okay, so moving on, how would you make this better? Like, if Tyler Rhodes was the producer of this movie, what would you say could improve some things?
Frank Miller story that is Batman versus Superman.
Oh yeah, the Dark Knight Returns.
That probably, if they would have done more with that,
Mhm.
focus more closely on his storyline. I've never read it and I'm pretty unfamiliar with it, but I'm sure they would have done a lot better than whatever this was.
Yeah, I haven't read the graphic novel, but I've seen they turned into a cartoon and they put it on like HBO, and I caught it. It's really good. It's way better than this. I'll put it like that. You got some comic booky things that happen in there that I wasn't too big on, but for the most part, it's really good. I think my main thing is just make everybody's motivations more clear. Like, cut all this stuff with at the very beginning when Lois Lane goes to Africa to meet with that warlord. Cut all that out. I'd say cut all the Holly Hunter stuff out. That goes nowhere pretty much.
No one ever brings up him blowing up 1/4 of the Senate or the Capitol building ever again.
And you think when the building blows up and he's the only guy standing there, you think, okay, they're finally
4 minutes after that, though, they're saying, okay, well, it was the guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
But we think Superman was working with the guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
But why would Superman be working with the guy in the wheelchair that's
exactly
painting stuff saying, I hate Superman everywhere?
Well, it's the same thing in Africa when all these people get shot in the head. You're just like, okay, well, it's Superman. So once again, just make all the motivations clear. Like when the Capitol building blows up, just say Superman blew it up and Batman wants to get revenge now. What else? And I just mentioned again, get Jesse Eisenberg to act more like his character in The Social Network. He's more of like a human in that.
You don't have all the random high voices he would do and the quick talking to slow down.
Yeah, it's a nightmare watching him do that. The Zack Snyder version of DC, where do you see it heading in the future? You haven't seen Suicide Squad, but we saw Wonder Woman.
Saw Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is probably one of the best superhero movies in the past few years.
Yeah.
Probably top, like right behind Captain America Civil War.
Yeah.
And Guardians 1.
I liked it. It's not my favorite superhero movie, but compared to Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, especially Suicide Squad, it's leaps and bounds. It actually feels like a real movie compared to those. So, just judging from the new Justice League trailers, that looks like a catastrophe. I can't pick out anything from the previews. It just looks like a bunch of noise, pretty much.
The trailer does make it look like it's going to be 5 movies condensed into one with everything they're trying to stuff in it.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. Like the quick cuts through the action scenes. I don't know who they're fighting. I don't know what they're trying to do or anything. So I think that movie is going to be a genuine catastrophe.
Well, isn't Josh Whedon helping with this one? So it might get a little better.
Yeah, Zack Snyder dropped out. So now just stuff.
You're going to get co-directing credits, I think.
So I have no idea if Josh Whedon can do anything with this. It seems like it was lost from the very beginning. So and
the Flash's costume looks terrible.
I haven't studied a whole lot of their costumes. I think Jason Momoa looks really stupid in his, but
the Flash has like plastic plating that's like tied to each other with bungee cords.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish they would have done like a Flash solo movie, like they did the Wonder Woman solo movie. I kind of wish they would have done the Flash. I haven't watched any of the TV show. I hear that's pretty good.
It is. The first 2 seasons at least. I haven't watched it beyond that.
Yeah, so it would have been cool to see him on. It would have been cool to see his own movie, but the only thing I was really excited for coming up was Ben Affleck was supposed to direct his own Batman movie. I really like Ben Affleck as a director. He made The Town, he made Argo, he made Gone Baby Gone. I really like those movies, and he dropped out. So I think he's trying to work his way out of the DC universe now. But they did get Matt Reeves to pick up for him. Matt Reeves, we just saw the War for the Planet of the Apes. He directed that. So I think
that could turn out well.
yeah, I've seen a lot of his other movies too, and I really like him. He's a really good director. But once again, it kind of feels like we're talking about Disney's problems trying to keep directors for their movies. It kind of seems like DC's having the same problem with it.
Do you think the superhero boredom effect is taking effect soon?
I hope so. I'm pretty much I'm done with. I'm sure I'm gonna go see the new Thor movie, the new Infinity War. I really like the new Spider-Man Homecoming movie that came out. I really like that. It kind of had it was just like a breath of fresh air, because most of these the new Thor movie kind of just looks like another one. It looks really good, but at the same time they're all just the same pretty much. And then you throw in Justice League coming out, and it just looks atrocious.
I don't know if I told you yet or not, but this year I decided that I'd only limit myself to seeing 2 or 3 superhero movies a year from henceforth. So I've seen Wonder Woman and Guardians 2. So I decided to see Thor 3 above Spider-Man.
Really?
So we'll see how that goes.
What made you decide Thor above Spider-Man?
That Thor 3 trailer was just so good.
It looks good. I'd say make an excuse for Spider-Man. It's really good. Tom Holland is great as the new Spider-Man.
Well, I guess I should say set watch just 3 in the theaters, so it'll be out on DVD in 2 months from now. So.
Right. Okay, so anything else on how you feel about where DC's going, or how much longer you think they'll still be doing this?
I'm sure it'll still be going on for the rest of our lives. It just won't be as big as a boom as it has been the past decade.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel that too. Okay, well, thank you to everybody that listened to our first episode. Follow us on Twitter. We're at 12_mini. So please follow us. Please subscribe. And thanks for listening.
Later.